Operation Epic Fury has been laser-focused from the very start, as I've said to all of you. Clear mission objectives, and ultimately Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
Imagine waking up and finding out that the most heavily guarded secret your country had buried under a mountain, surrounded by elite guards, protected by years of construction and billions of dollars, was just gone. Not bombed from the outside, not sanctioned into irrelevance, walked into, emptied, and then erased. That's what happened to Iran in the dead of night during one of the most classified joint military operations ever conducted on foreign soil. And the most remarkable part, by the time Iranian commanders realized something was wrong, the uranium was already on a US Navy ship sailing away from their coastline. I'm going to take you inside this mission from the briefing room to the mountain minute by minute, because what happened here isn't just a military story. It's a masterclass in what happens when the world's most capable fighting force decides that enough is enough. Let's get into it. For years, Western intelligence agencies had been watching a particular stretch of mountain range in central Iran with growing alarm. Not because of what they could see, but because of what they couldn't. Beneath hundreds of feet of solid rock and reinforced concrete sat a facility that Iran had gone to extraordinary lengths to hide. Underground tunnels, blast-resistant chambers, redundant power systems, and row after row of advanced centrifuges spinning, constantly pushing uranium closer and closer to weapons-grade enrichment. This wasn't a research site. This wasn't civilian energy infrastructure the Iranian government could point to on a map and defend diplomatically. This was a program, a deliberate, disciplined, heavily protected program with one logical endpoint. Analysts ran the numbers, intelligence was assessed and reassessed, and the conclusion kept coming back the same way. The timeline was shrinking fast. What had once been years away was now becoming a matter of months. And at that point, the conversation in certain rooms stops being about diplomacy and starts being about options. The option they chose had a name, Operation Silent Harvest. At a classified forward operating base somewhere in the Middle East, a location that doesn't appear on any public map, a group of men who don't exist on any public roster sat in a briefing room staring at satellite imagery they'd never be allowed to keep. Colonel Harlan stood at the front. He didn't waste words. He laid the mission out in 2 phases, clean and simple. Phase 1, a special forces ground team inserts under cover of darkness. They neutralize the perimeter. They enter the facility. They extract every piece of sensitive nuclear material they can physically carry. Everything else, the centrifuges, the enrichment equipment, the infrastructure, gets destroyed on site. Phase 2, the moment those teams are wheels up and clear of the target zone, B-2 Spirit stealth bombers deliver the final verdict from high altitude: bunker-busting munitions. Maximum structural destruction. Nothing left standing, nothing left recoverable. 2 moving parts, 1 narrow window, 0 margin for error. The operators in that room asked very few questions. They'd been trained for exactly this. They'd rehearsed scenarios exactly like this. The questions had already been answered months ago in training facilities that also don't appear on any public map. What followed the briefing was the kind of preparation that separates elite units from everyone else on Earth. Every operator packed his own kit. Suppressed rifles fitted with subsonic ammunition rounds that travel below the speed of sound, producing a sound signature so small it barely registers as a gunshot. Night vision systems, breaching charges calibrated for specific door and wall types they'd studied from the facility schematics. Medical kits, encrypted communication devices tested repeatedly on secure channels. And then something unusual, something that tells you everything about the nature of this target. Lightweight, radiation-shielded transport containers, designed specifically to safely move highly enriched nuclear material. You don't pack those unless you're going somewhere that has the real thing. The operators move through their final checks with calm precision, no nervousness, no bravado. Just the quiet, methodical focus of men who have done dangerous things so many times that danger has stopped feeling like an emergency and started feeling like a work environment. At a separate airbase, B-2 Spirit bomber crews were conducting their own preparation. Ground crews loaded the heavy bunker buster munitions into the internal weapon bays. Mechanics ran final engine checks. The stealth coating, a radar-absorbing material covering every surface of the aircraft's distinctive flying wing shape, was given a careful final inspection. The B-2 pilots studied the underground facility layout with the same intensity the ground teams had. They marked the precise coordinates of critical structural points. They mapped flight routes designed to keep them undetectable, not just invisible to radar, but acoustically and visually absent from the night sky. 2 entirely separate teams, 2 entirely separate locations, 1 synchronized clock. The MV-22 Ospreys lifted off in total darkness. The Osprey is a remarkable aircraft. It takes off vertically like a helicopter, then tilts its rotors forward and flies like a turboprop plane, combining the flexibility of rotary flight with the speed and range of fixed-wing aviation. For a mission requiring a low, fast, terrain-hugging approach to a target in hostile territory, it's exactly the right tool. The operators inside sat in silence. The ramps were closed. The aircraft ran dark, no external lights, instruments only, pilots flying on night vision equipment. They stayed low, deliberately threading through valleys and terrain features to minimize any radar exposure. Simultaneously, at altitude, the B-2S were already airborne, their angular, radar-absorbent shapes moving through the upper atmosphere like a rumor present, but undetectable. The 2 elements of the operation were synchronized to the exact minute, not approximately, exactly. As the Ospreys reached the insertion zone, the pilots slowed and transitioned back to helicopter mode, descending silently toward a remote landing area near the facility perimeter. Ramps dropped. Operators poured out, and from that moment, the clock was running. The teams moved immediately, deliberate, silent, rehearsed. Perimeter guards were identified and neutralized with suppressed fire, no shots audible beyond a few feet, no alarms triggered. The outer fence was breached with specialized tools that made no sound. Then they were inside. Moving through an underground facility you've only seen on satellite imagery and architectural schematics is a particular kind of challenge. Every corridor could hold a threat. Every door is an unknown until it isn't. The teams cleared room by room, the practiced, flowing movement of operators who've done this thousands of times in training and dozens of times in the real world. When they reached the storage areas, they shifted modes. Speed still mattered, but so did precision. The enriched uranium had to be handled correctly. It went into the shielded containers, sealed, logged, secured. The centrifuge arrays, the machines responsible for actually performing the enrichment, were rigged with controlled demolition charges, the kind of precisely placed explosives that destroy equipment without bringing ceilings down on the people setting them. Other critical systems, command nodes, power infrastructure, data storage were similarly targeted. The operators worked through the facility methodically, leaving behind a sequence of timed charges and a trail of secured material being carried toward the exit. When the last room was cleared and the last container was sealed, the team leader sent a single encrypted transmission. The Ospreys lifted off the moment the teams were aboard. They climbed out of the target area fast, heading for the USS Tripoli waiting offshore. And the instant that extraction was confirmed, the B-2 pilots, who had been holding their attack position at altitude in total silence, received their release authorization. They released the bunker busters. These weapons are engineered for exactly this scenario. They don't explode on contact with the surface. They're designed to penetrate through concrete, through reinforced structure, through earth, before the warhead detonates deep inside the target. The physics of the explosion travels through the facility, collapsing everything the ground team had already torn apart from the inside. The strikes were precise, multiple impact points. The underground halls, the enrichment cascades, the power systems, the structural supports, everything the facility needed to function was gone in minutes. The mountain that had hidden Iran's most critical nuclear infrastructure for years was now effectively a tomb for a program that would never restart. The operators touched down on the USS Tripoli without ceremony. There were no speeches, no handshakes for the cameras. Just the quiet debriefing that follows any mission, what worked, what didn't, what to remember. Colonel Harlan received confirmation. He made a note. That was it. The enriched uranium years of Iranian investment, billions of dollars in infrastructure, the product of a program designed to shift the balance of power in the most volatile region on Earth, was now in American custody, being transported to a secure location for proper handling and disposal. Out in the Strait of Hormuz, The first tankers that had been holding position offshore began to move cautiously at first. Then, with growing confidence, the waterway that carries roughly a fifth of the world's daily oil supply was reopening. The ripple effects of a single night's work were already spreading outward. Here's what's worth sitting with. This operation didn't require an invasion. It didn't require a decade of occupation or a coalition of 40 nations. It required the right people, the right aircraft, the right intelligence, and the will to use all three in the same window. That's what modern power projection looks like when it functions the way it was designed to. Operation Silent Harvest will never appear in an official press release. The men who carried it out will never give interviews. The aircraft that flew it will return to their hangars and wait for the next mission. That's how these operations are designed. The world keeps moving, the oil keeps flowing, and the people responsible for keeping it that way go back to work. But the question this mission leaves on the table is one worth thinking about seriously. Does a strike like this solve the problem, or does it reset a clock that just starts running again? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to know where you actually stand on this. And if you want to follow the next phase of operations in this region, because there is absolutely a next phase, subscribe right now and turn on notifications. This story is far from over, and I'm going to be here every step of the way. See you in the next one.